Okay, in the previous chapter we did the big branches for the main branches and the small branches as well. Now we are going to layer another set of branches to make this more realistic, because if you go to assign the leaves to these branches, it's going to be so flat and really not so beautiful. So let's look at the references, and you see each big branch in here is divided into multiple sub branches, and it's more prominent in here. You see there are big branches and a smaller branches extracting from them. For example, this big branch has been divided into a smaller branch, and these smaller branches have some smaller branches into them, and we have something like 3 levels of small branches that we might need to add. So let's go and start to create the medium branches. So let's go and add a branch, and again we're going for interval because we're going to make this round shape, and this fluff is going to be the shape, and interval is going to help us get to what we want. Okay, we have the medium branches there, and let's call this one level 2 branch. Okay, and it's obvious that the size of the branches need to come down a bit, and we're going to do that using the length. And by looking at these references, we know that these branches start in medium when they are closer to the parent, and then get big and get very small in the end. And something like the cone that we created there. So let's take this and return this one to max so that all of them are for the same size. And now let's bring the size down just a bit. And I'm using this slider to control that better. And I'm creating these with the next set of branches in mind as well. I'm thinking about how to place them and how to make them the cluster that it needs to be. So now the length of the branches is this value, and we have half of that value for variance to give it some more detail. So let's look at them. A good thing about this is that it highlights them and we're seeing what we are creating. Okay, I'm happy about the size of them. Let's go in the generation panel and start to add some more. We really need to fill a lot of the area with these branches. So let's go and start to do the branches just this way. And of course, I'm not going to keep them this way, so procedurally created. We are going to break a lot of them. We are going to do all sorts of changes to them. And let's see for the count. This is good. And I need to make them start right off from the beginning of the branch, beginning of the parent branch. Not so much, but let's make it something like this. And let's decrease from the count and try to look to see what we have created. Okay, for now I'm happy with it. And to make them more randomized, I need to increase the spread just a bit and add a variance value as well to give it a little bit of randomization. So, and for the spiral as well, let's give it just a bit of rotation and a bit of randomization as well. And to cap these parts of the parent, I'm going to come down, and in the extend parent I'm going to hit any so that it caps there off. Of course, we're going to later on cap these as well. And now that I'm looking at the size of them, I see that they need to be really smaller in radius. So we go to skin tab and bring the relative to parent down. We need just a bit, and of course a bit of variance as well to make some of them thicker and some of them thinner. So let's go to spine, and as always we need to change the starting angle and the gravity to give them a bit of more shape. So I'm not going to make it like this. Let's use this as slider to be able to control it a lot more softer. So something like this. And let's give it a bit of more variance so that not all of them are facing towards the same way. And try to look at it from different sides. And change the starting angle as well to make them face more towards the outside of the tree. Something like this. And then let's go down the bottom, and for the brick we're going to increase the chance so that we have so much of broken branches and a bit of noise as well. Let me select them, and using this noise try to give them a bit of shape. So again, let's go to segments and script mode and try to give this some more shape. And be aware so that you do not go so overboard with it. Now it's too much. Let's make this one 4, because these are little branches and really not contributing so much to the quality. Let's put it to 2 or 1 and bring the relative down. Something like this is okay. So go back to standard mode and try to see that. And I feel like I can really make the size of the branches, the length of them, a bit more. Because now that I'm looking at them, I need to make them a bit lengthier. So let's make the length 0.2. Okay, this is looking good, but now I need to do something. I want to make the branches, make these a small branches compared to these branches in here, the medium size, big size, and a smaller at the tip of that. So let's select it, and for the parents we are going to select level 1B, which is this one, and we're going to resize this based on this one, not the size of the whole bark. So let's go for draw again. I'm going to start medium in here and really big in here and really a small down here. And really this is the size of the branch that I'm looking for. So let's go for draw and take these 3 and drag them outside. And now let's select this and try to look at them, and this is really the shape of the cone that I wanted for this. But I need to change the medium branches in here just a bit. So let's take these 3 and bring them down, and take this one as well alone and bring it down. Okay, something like this. And again, as always, let's take this, go to displacement and copy the displacement modifier in there and paste it in here to keep the consistency. So let's look at the shape of the branches that we have created. Okay, I'm happy with it. And still there's time for adding other layers of branches as well. So I'm going to copy this one and paste it and take it and apply it to here. So now that I'm looking at these, let's see them. It's capping on here pretty much perfectly and adding a good level 3 branches in here, but we need to change some values. And there's a good thing about this procedurality, and it's when you start to create some things, you can reuse them later on. But the poly counts for this one is really high. It's too much. So let's go for segment, and if we go to script mode, you see that the amount of polygon on these branches is enormous. So let's take this and bring this down. And I'm going to take this and increase the length. Okay, now it's getting fuller. So let's take this, and I'm going to increase the gravity so that they are facing down. So let's take this, and using the gravity slider in here, I can make the gravity a lot stronger. Not so much, but just a bit, okay? But now I really need to optimize this just a bit. So let's go to generation mode, and we need to bring these down. So for the frequency, I'm going to set it to 4, and just check the silhouette to see how much you have contributed to the shape. So, and for the count, let's set it to 3. Now we have a lot lesser polygons wasted. And now we can add another layer of branches as well. I'm taking these big branches and copy this one and bring it to the top and connect it to here. And since these are the same, these are really identical. But we need to change some values to make them different from each other. And the first thing, we need to bring the frequency down to something like 2. And go to the spline tab and make the length a bit bigger. And again, go to frequency and try to decrease it more. And for the count also, I'm going to bring this down and select them to check the silhouette. Okay, these are to break up the shape even more. And I'm going to skin tab and make the radius a bit more, so that these branches are different from these. And you see we have these branches, and these are some bifurcating branches. And I'm going to select these 2 level of branches, or at least this one, and copy that here. So let's apply that. And we're getting that fluffy shape that we really expected from this tree to happen. And we need another set of branches to sit on the tip and point upwards, so that later on when we try to add the branches, we get these shapes going on. You see there are some branches in here which make the leaves point upwards to make this puffy shape happening. So I'm going to copy this and paste it and bring it here and go to the generation, and I want to make it more, for example something like 6, and this is too much. Let me go for the length and make it smaller, and for the radius I want to set it to be just like that. And for the first and last, I'm going to really limit that to 1 and bring the first all the way to something like 0.8. So let's select it. Now these are at the tip, and let's make it 0.7. And let's bring the spread down so that they are not so randomly placed all over. And let's make them more. And increase the count to see the shape. And these really need to point upwards to create that puffy shape. So let's select them. And for the gravity, let's make them really point upwards. And now let's select it to visualize. And I'm happy with the shape that we have here. Okay, I'm happy with this layering that is happening in here. And let's take this one as well. Bring these two down and copy one of these branches. For example, let me see this or this one instead, and copy it to the place so that these broken branches also have something and they're not so dull and empty. Now that I'm looking at this shape, I'm really happy with how this is going. Okay, let's see that if there's something to fix about these branches, and it's really not. Okay, so in the next lesson, we're going to add the leaves as well to the mix to bring this tree further to completion. Okay, see you in the next lesson.